We are.
Hello.
We're back.
We're back.
Focus on Art back, and we have our next interviewee. So, we're going to introduce to you. I see, I want my glasses now.
I put them on for her.
It's Liz Thomas, aka Lyssa Stanson. Yes?
Yes.
See, I thought that was pronounced Lisa. It's Lyssa.
It's Lyssa.
Lyssa. Sorry, it's Lyssa.
It sounds much more fancy like that, doesn't it?
It does sound much more fancy.
Nicer,
Yes.
Lyssa.
Yes. If you're going to go for a pen name, go for something fancy.
You might as well.
Yeah.
So Liz was just explaining to us, because we said, why Lyssa Stanson? And she was just explaining.
Yes. So, as I said, Liz Thomas is common as muck. There's thousands and thousands of Liz Thomases. So I wanted something a bit different, and I as I say, I tried thinking about, well, Beth Thomas, because that sounds quite a nice name for a cosy mystery author. And I googled that, and it was a psychopath.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So,
especially if you write cosy murders.
Yes, not quite so cosy. Not quite so cosy. Murder, yes, cozy, no.
Link with the psycho, woo!
Yeah. So then I thought, right, I'm going to go for something completely different, something that nobody else has got, and that. So Lyssa is when someone Elizabeth, and when I was little, my parents called me Lisa.
Right.
And so I thought, well, Lyssa, it's quite close to that, but it's got it's a bit of a Greek feel. I was writing Captive in Crete at the time.
Pardon?
Captive in Crete.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're all set in different countries, and they're all something in whatever. So the first one was Captive in Crete, and so I was looking at Greek names, and I thought, well, Lyssa, that's quite a good name. So it's nice, isn't it?
It's nice,
yeah. But it's kind of quite close to me and my name, so that's good.
So it works.
And then Stanson is an homage to my father.
Oh.
So my dad his name was Stanley John.
Right.
Everyone called him John. There's no diminutive for daughter. So you have Johnson, Davidson, Stevenson, but you don't have anything with daughter.
That's true.
So I thought, well, I'll go with son. You know, I'm probably the nearest thing to a son he had. But there was no way I was going to be Johnson. There was no way I was going to be Johnson. So Stanson. Plus that's a bit more unusual.
It is.
Yeah, Stanson.
That's quite a nice meaning. It's interesting, isn't it, when you get your names, you have for authors and stuff like that. You don't realise what goes behind you making that name for what you do.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't know about the Greek bit, no.
I have a question I've been dying to ask.
Okay.
Since you said you wanted to do that. And please forgive my total ignorance. What is a cosy
mystery? So a cosy mystery, it's a murder mystery, but it's got a cosy feel to it. So it's a bit it's a bit like Agatha Christie's Miss Marple.
Okay. Right.
Did you ever watch Murder, She Wrote?
Yeah.
All that sort of thing. They're cosy mysteries.
Oh.
So it's an amateur sleuth.
Right.
It's usually set in a kind of closed community, like a murder mystery is. So you've got quirky characters and things. It's quite light-hearted. Right. So although there's murder, there's not blood and guts and gore. It's like the first one was a poisoning, and she just kind of dropped dead at the table and that sort of thing. So
it's a bit like Agatha Christie kind of style.
Yes, it's that sort of thing, but with amateur sleuth and.
So it's actually a recognised genre of cozy.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah,
it's
a subgenre of murder mystery.
I mean, obviously, I know.
Is it kind of just when I think about it, I think about sitting on the sofa reading, getting all cosy.
Yeah.
But I suppose it is.
Well, they're light-hearted reads, so you would typically curl up on the sofa with your hot chocolate. And,
See what you can visualise that, can't you?
So there's no swearing. Right. There's no sex. There might be some romance, but it will stop at the bedroom door or before the bedroom door.
So it's quite a good old-fashioned murder mystery.
Yes.
I like that.
You could recommend it to your mother and
oh right, okay.
Without worrying. But,
So how long have you been writing?
How long's a piece of string? So I started writing, when did I start writing this? 2018, 2019? But I've been writing forever. I wrote things at school. I did a short story writing course when I was in my early to mid-20s.
Right.
And then kind of put it back, and I've over the years I've kind of started any number of novels. I've written a few short stories to completion because they're short. They're not easy, but they're short. I've always fancied the idea of being a writer, being an author. Wouldn't that be just a wonderful thing to be? Yeah. So I started things over the years, and eventually I kind of got this idea for this cosy mystery series. And as I say, the heroine.
Is it the same
I was
woman?
gonna say,
Yeah, so it's the same.
that
It's the
was
same woman. Her name is Jet Wilson.
Jet Wilson.
Jet
That's
short
a
for
good name,
Jeanette.
isn't it? Oh, right. Okay.
And she jets off. See what I did? I don't say that in books. It's okay. But she does. Each book is set in a different country.
Yeah.
So the first one's Captive in Crete. The second one is Stalked in Switzerland. The third one is Lois in London, and the fourth one is Accident in Argentina.
Fourth one.
Ah.
Yes.
So how long are each book? Roughly?
They're kind of in between a novella and a novel.
Right.
So officially, anything less than 40,000 words is a novella, and a novel is 50,000 or more.
It's a lot of words, isn't it?
I've never heard of that word before. Novella.
No, do you know? I don't.
It's a short novel.
Yeah.
But mine is typically between 40 and 50,000.
So you're in between. You're in between.
Yeah, but they're quick reads as well, because cosy mystery readers, they like something light-hearted.
Yeah,
they like
that's
something
it.
they can
And
get
also,
through.
you don't want to keep
And
it going. You don't
Yeah.
want to put it down.
Yeah.
So you've got them in paperback version, haven't you?
I don't have them in paperback.
You don't-
version.
you don't
They are only on Amazon, and they are only ebook only at the moment.
Right. Okay.
The paperback is relatively easy to do, but it's more complicated, and I'm kind of fallen at the cover hurdle.
Yeah. So you're self-publisher.
I'm self-publisher. Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
And we've noticed a lot of people are doing that now, and I think
Oh,
it's a really
yes,
good way
yeah.
of getting your
It
yourself
is.
out there.
Yeah.
Well, we've had. I mean, look, we had the poet and
Yeah.
also our guy last week.
Yumi.
Yumi, sorry, you. I'm completely forgetting everybody's names. Who am I, Tracy? Yes.
I've got two of you to remember. So.
This is Edgar.
Yeah, this is Edgar. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting that a few of our interviewees have done the same thing recently.
Yeah.
Published
It's
or
a
print
big
on
thing.
demand.
It's a
Print
big
on
thing.
demand.
Yeah, print on demand.
I think it's great because
Absolutely.
it enables people no longer to be at the mercy of publishers, and you can actually do your thing, can't you?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And a lot of things, I think possibly Cozy Mystery is one of them, is, you're not going to make, there's not a massive market for it, and they tend to be quite small books.
Yeah.
And so, publishers are going to be, do we really want to get into that?
Yeah.
Unless it's going to be a bigger book, and it's going to be an established name or something.
Have you got a following?
It'll be growing though.
Growing.
It'll be growing.
But you've only been writing them since 2018.
Yes, so I published the first one in 2021, in March of 2021.
So not very long.
So not very long.
And
at
you've
all.
written 4 books.
Yeah.
God, that's
Wow.
good. That's fun.
Yeah.
I think COVID had something to do with
COVID
that.
had a lot to do with that.
Maybe we should write one on COVID.
Awful lot to do with that. I'm part of the Great Resignation.
Loads of people.
But,
That's what we were saying last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That I think we've all found something. Well, not everybody, but I think people have found something that they really want to do through that time, and actually are pursuing it more. I mean, do you have other
they
work?
found out what they don't want to do.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people say, no, do you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Do you work anyway? Do you have a job?
I don't now.
So you've taken up.
So I was furloughed.
Okay.
So I was a contractor. I was finance contractor. So I was financial controller, finance manager.
Okay.
And I would do a contract, and then I'd take a little bit of time off, and then do a contract. Much like Jet does in the book.
Okay.
And
I was going to ask. Anyway, that's another question.
And then I was between contracts when lockdown hit. I've got all these plans to go to all these far-flung places.
I think a few people can resonate with that.
Yes. And so I was furloughed, and then I spent a few months kind of reading books, watching Netflix, going for the old walk, reading books, watching Netflix, going for the old walk, reading books, watching Netflix. And eventually I thought, I've got to do something. I can't just, I can't. How long is this going to go on for? I can't have this big black hole in my life where I did nothing. So I kind of picked it up again, and I'd already started Captive in Crete, but I kind of went a bit further.
Kind of made you pursue it even more, and now you're doing this full time.
Yes.
Now.
So I then in the autumn of 2020, I thought, they started to scale back the furlough. I thought, right, I need to find another contract, and I went to look for another contract. Nothing.
There you go. There's your sign.
And I was like, oh, what if I don't get another contract this year? What if I don't get another contract next year? What if I never work again?
Yeah.
And I'm in my 50s, so I'd got pension stuff. So I crunched the numbers and went through it all, and okay, so I'm not going to starve, and I'm not going to be made homeless, and so it's okay if the worst comes to the worst. It's okay. And then I got another contract in 2021. And did that for a few months, and decided that actually no, I don't like working.
No,
I'm not going to work anymore.
I think,
and I ran the numbers again. And I thought, no, actually, if I'm careful with my money, because I work in finance, I'm good with my money.
Yeah.
If I'm careful with my money, I can,
why
I can live on my pension.
I think a lot of people are doing this now. I think a lot of, particularly in the age bracket, 45, 50, you're kind of realising that there's more to life than just doing this chug, ooh, chug, like a train, choo-choo train, and then you crash it, and then it's like, there's more value in life.
Yeah.
Than
and
just,
this is something that I've always wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, well, I started doing it, and then I got the contract, and then I kind of it stopped again for a bit. But it's like, no, I can do this. I can, if I live frugally, I can. I might be a starving artist. I might be a hungry artist, but not a starving artist. And I can do this, and I really want to do it.
Yeah, good.
And life's too short, isn't it?
Exactly. You got to say, I'm doing it, and you say you can tick it off your list and say, I've done it.
Yeah.
There's no point regretting anything.
No, at all. And you've written 4 books.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
I was going to ask about your books. It sounds like a little bit like you.
There is a lot of me in the books.
Because when you were describing it, sorry for the jet setting and then there's a lady trying to go. When you were talking about yourself, it kind of just feels like, it's actually your imaginary character actually going off to the places you wanted to go to, and
Well, no, she's going off to places I've been.
Oh, she's been.
Yeah,
okay.
Because part of it was I wanted to set a book in Crete.
Right.
And you've been to Crete.
I'm in the process of selling it, but I have a little house in Crete.
Right.
And I've had that for about I don't know, 12, 15 years. And so I've been to Crete,
so you get
twice a year. So it's set in the village that the house is in.
Oh,
and so it's all set in this one place. And then, Switzerland, I've lived in Switzerland. I spent 3 years living in Switzerland. London, I lived in London before I moved, when I was first growing up. And then Argentina. Yeah. I've spent a month in, it's not very much. Yeah, but I've spent a month in Argentina dancing tango.
So this is why.
And she goes to Argentina to dance tango.
So that's what I picked up. The fact, obviously, I've got that bit of the travel wrong, but but that's kind of where I saw it, and I thought, because you were describing any words,
Well, they say write about what you know,
and that's it.
And my dad was just such a great storyteller, and he was in the Navy in his younger days, and we had all these stories about things he'd get up to, and places he'd been and seen, and people he'd worked with, and all that sort of thing, and I never wrote them down, and we never recorded them in any way, and that is one of the biggest regrets of my life. Yeah. Because they're lost now. Yeah.
But they are in there.
They're still in. They're part of what made me who I am.
Exactly.
And part of what made my son.
Sometimes you can't remember that because when you put it in yourself, you know it's there, but you don't know how to express it the way your father expressed it. But what you're doing now is expressing it in a different way.
Yes. So this is. I mean, it's not my memoirs. I've never murdered anyone.
No.
For the avoidance of doubt.
Just clear that up.
They're not memoirs.
She's not. She's
not a psychopath. But
I don't actually know any policemen.
No.
Drugs, no. But they say write about what you know, and I'm doing that with this. And it's not a memoir, but I did try and write some memories down because I thought, well, I don't want to be in the same situation, or I don't want my son to be in the same situation. So I thought I'll write some stuff down about my life, and it was just so boring and so dry. And it's like, okay, well, I did that, and I went there and did this, and I went here and did that. But whereas this, I've put little bits, things that I've done. There's little bits of things in there.
And I suppose there's the history of the places that you lived. Did you incorporated that in, the places that you're in? So people could probably, if you read it, you can relate to, I remember that street or that cobble bit, so it kind of gives you that visual.
Well, I think if you read Accident in Argentina, you will recognise some of the milongas she goes to.
Oh, really?
Because they're all based on actual milongas.
Right.
So I haven't named them, but in terms of describing them, they are all actual milongas. Okay.
So we should explain here that Liz actually is a tango dancer as well, Argentine tango dancer.
Yes.
In fact, as she reminded me, I taught her how to dance.
Yeah. She had to remind you.
I haven't seen her for a while.
No, it was many years ago.
Because we don't live close. I do
we used to live closer.
I do remember.
That's brilliant. And so, are you gonna? Can we have a little read?
Yeah, you're gonna give us a snippet.
Okay, slightly nervous.
This is from the new one.
So this is from Accident in Argentina.
Okay.
And a little bit of background. Is it doing this one? Is it doing that bit?
Just do whatever bit you want.
You do whatever.
I'll do this bit because I'm.
Mary, she wrote this herself. Okay.
I'm never going to regret this. Now, if you haven't viewed me before, I have Maryisms, and this guy, Blackburn, was reading his foreword. In my head, I was thinking, wow, that's amazing. Somebody wrote that for him. Because sometimes forwards, are they always written by the author? I got
not always, no.
Not, this is what
in
was
your
going...
defence, not always.
In defence.
Yes.
And then I said, what, she's right now? Oh, is that what I said?
Yeah, something like that. But it was quite funny.
Oh, you wrote that?
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, I won't do that because I know you've written
Okay.
it. So
okay. Well, he sounded impressed when you said it to him, so
it went down really well.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy, and he did have quite a good sense of humour.
Yeah, he did, because very... but he understood what I was about, so that's fine.
Okay, so a little bit of background.
Okay.
Jex arrived in Argentina. She has a grandmother with her.
Okay.
And her grandmother was taught to dance in Argentina way back when.
Right.
And they've arrived, and the first thing they found out is that the maestro of the tango school that they are going to be going to while they're there, who is also the man who taught Grandma to dance many, many years ago, has just been murdered.
Oh, So
not a good start to the holiday.
No, so Grandma gets very upset and says, "Oh, I must go and see Juanita, who's the widow."
Uh-huh.
So they go off to visit, visit Juanita. So
and
this
I'm
is
getting into it already.
This is kind of part way through the chapter.
Yeah.
I just thought this was a little bit that might work.
Okay.
So the widow gave in to tears as sobs racked her body. Grandma looked briefly horrified, but then knelt beside Juanita's chair and scooped her into a tight embrace. As the crying continued, Grandma gestured towards the bedside table where a jug and a glass stood. I nodded, but when I got to the table, I saw that both were empty. I took the jug and slipped out of the room. I hesitated on the landing, scanning the 3 other doors that led off it. All were identical, none had a helpful bathroom sign. I picked the one opposite at random and opened it. Success! A claw-footed tub stood opposite me, a toilet and then a sink were on my right. I ran water from one of the sink taps to check its temperature. I'd been caught out in the past. C stands for chaud, which is hot in French, as well as cold. Jug neatly filled, I turned off the tap, and only then realised I had black smudges on my fingers. Where could that have come from? I inspected the tap, and sure enough, black powder clung to the handle. I looked around the room more closely and saw spots of the same stuff on the bath taps and around the door handle. My stomach did a small flip. I was standing in the crime scene. Naturally, the police would have dusted for fingerprints, and clearly the cleaning afterwards wasn't quite as thorough as it might have been. I tried not to look, but my eyes were drawn to the bathtub. The waiter didn't know whether Ricardo Cabrero had drowned or been bludgeoned, stabbed, shot, just that he'd been found in the bathtub. I inched closer and checked for bloodstains. Either there weren't any, or the cleaner had been more thorough with them than with the fingerprint powder. The cry from the bedroom brought me back to the task in hand. How could I be so ghoulish? Amateur curiosity, perhaps. It wasn't so long ago that I'd been finding dead bodies on a regular basis. I set the jug down on the floor as I went to wash my hands. Hot tap this time, but the pretty ceramic soap dish was annoyingly empty. It did hold clear traces of soap, though. I looked on the side of the bath. Nothing. Then on the floor all around the sink. I even got down on my hands and knees to peer under the bathtub. No joy there either. It was as I was getting back to my feet that I saw it, nestled where the wall met the floor, just to the left of the toilet. I picked it up and then picked off the little bits of fluff clinging to its underside, as well as a short, dark hair that I refused to think about at all. I gave it a good rinse and washed my hands. I could hear voices coming from the bedroom as I stepped back into the hallway. Relief that Juanita had stopped crying soon gave way to concern. Though I couldn't make out what was being said, the voices were a little too loud for comfort. I hesitated briefly outside the door, but finally knocked and went in. I know you really didn't mean that, Grandma was saying, so I won't take any notice of it. I'll come back when you're feeling better. She stood and flounced, there's no other word to describe it, towards the door, taking my hand to lead me out and shutting the door with some force behind us. Oh, but, I said, holding up the full jug. She didn't seem to hear me, so I just set it on a small plant table as we passed and hoped someone would find it.
I really enjoyed that, actually. I wanted to keep... Do you remember those murder mystery? You know those murder mystery things? You play a game, and it's a murder mystery game. Have you seen those?
Yeah. Like role playing. Yeah.
I got into that.
Yeah.
Nice and good. You know what I mean? That visual, but I love those sort of role plays. I used to love those as a child.
We used to do those.
Do you know those books where you had to you read, that's what it reminds. I don't know why it reminds me. Then you go, do you go A or B, or do you go down the?
Do you know, I do that with my grandsons.
Do you?
During lockdown, when we couldn't go and visit them, I used to do bedtime stories by Zoom.
Oh.
And I would write them a chapter, and they were in the story. So I would write them a chapter.
That's amazing.
And then at the end of the chapter, I'd say, right, so what are you going to do next? Are you going to do this, or are you going to do this? And they'd have a conversation. Of course, one would say one thing, and the other one would say the other thing. But I'd eventually get them to go, and then, you know, and I'd write the next chapter.
It's so cool, because when I was listening to that, it kind of resonated with me. Don't know why, but I was kind of like, oh, which way am I going to go now?
Yeah.
Kind of
That's good. That's you getting into the story, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. Quite a nice audio book.
Yeah.
Well, they're all written by Jet. You know, it's all first person from Jet. So.
No, it's really interesting.
You know what I mean? I could see that, hear that. When you sometimes I like audio stuff because you really kind of your mind just goes off. I know reading does, but
unless you fall asleep halfway through.
I can't do audiobooks because A, I fall asleep, or B, something will spark a thought and my go off thinking, and then it's like, oh, where are we? And
but it's very clear.
With a book, you just put the book down.
It's true.
Yeah, you can't do that with a book.
But I thought with the way you were reading it, it was very clear.
It was intriguing.
Yeah. That sounds good, doesn't it? I know, so it works. I'm going off on one now, going on like audio.
Available on Amazon, you know.
Available on Amazon.
Lyssa Stanson, Lyssa.
Yeah, look.
People say that. I can't read it, I've got my glasses
just
on.
hold the card up.
I'll hold the card up, but I need my glasses on to even know what I'm doing. If you go on to... Hang on. Oops, got to raise myself up here. Oh, a bit hot and sweaty.
We don't want to know that.
No, sorry about that. So anyway... if we go in...
It's difficult doing the card thing.
It is, because you're doing it the opposite.
You were doing the wrong way round.
So Lyssa Stanson.
Mr. Print thinks they're slim business cards, whereas I think they're mini bookmarks.
They are actually really cute.
Yes.
They are, I like them.
Because then when I talk to people at the bus stop or whatever,
I really like them.
And rather than having to write my name on their hands,
who did the illustrations on your... Because you've got little covers. I've seen your little covers. We've got them on...
I put them on the website.
One of the covers on there.
Who did your covers for you? I did my covers.
Did you?
I was about to say, did you do yours?
So I didn't draw them or anything. I purchased the bits, the art bits.
Yeah.
Well done.
And then kind of amalgamated them into the particular cover. And then the particular... I picked the fonts and did it all.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
So you've written 4 already with your character.
Yes.
Do you see yourself continuing for a lot more using the same character, or do you think you will divert and go into another?
So I've got... So next is Brazil, then France.
These are all places you've been to, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. So Brazil, then France, then possibly the Fens, and then maybe India. But I think that might be it. Originally it was going to be 6.
Right.
And there's some kind of, not backstory, but there's some subplot going on. There's a few bits in the first few books where you think, oh, why was he doing that? We never quite figured out why he was late for that. And it's like, I don't know quite who he is, and we never seem to figure out quite who he was.
So is there a crossover?
That will all come together in the next book.
Oh, okay.
And that was going to be the end, but then I kind of like, well, we could just do this and we could just do this. But I am thinking of doing an offshoot one and giving Grandma her own little series.
That really would be like a Miss Marple thing, then, wouldn't it?
Yes, because you see, I'm kind of in the middle between Jet and Grandma. Grandma's a bit older than me, Jet's quite younger than me.
Yeah.
So Jet's kind of where I was and Grandma's where I want to be.
Oh, it is! It's cute, isn't it?
But Grandma lives in... I've got grandchildren.
Have you?
But yes, I said the grandchildren.
Did you?
She did.
See what I mean?
Mary isn't.
Just the Marys, don't worry about me. Sometimes
but yeah, so Grandma lives in Crete. That's what Jet was doing in Crete in the first one. And the village, Sivas village, it's just the obvious place to have a cosy mystery set, because it's a small village. Everyone knows each other. There's a good reason for people outsiders to come in, because it's a tourist thing, and you know, so you could it just screams.
Can you see your books? I mean, have you approached anyone to probably get them filmed or televised?
No, that's a long way for the future.
You should try. Just try that. Right, you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
But because they're always looking for serious. I mean, let's face it, they are. I mean, how many series of Games of Thrones did we have to go through?
And he hadn't finished that series.
And then at the end of it, it was just whatever.
Well, I lost complete. Well, we only actually started watching that after about the first 4 or 5 series been out. I don't know, but we caught right at the end. I really wish I hadn't wasted it. It really wasn't worth it, was it?
No.
That's just my personal opinion, of course. I'm sure many people really enjoyed it.
Yes. Definitely only enjoyed the last bit though.
It happens with those sort of things, isn't it? I really liked it. I really enjoyed listening to it as well, because you really get a feel for how you write and how it's going to come across.
Yeah.
You know, those old murder mysteries, I think, are some of the best. I think.
Yeah.
So, were you given? Can you think of any advice you were given when you were writing that was great advice, or did anyone give you any advice for writing?
So, I did a lot of reading of writing books. I'm in a lot of author groups on Facebook. There's a lot of advice out there.
Yeah.
The write what you know is actually the best advice.
Yeah.
Because so for me, when I'm describing a milonga that she's going to or something, I see it. You know, I can see it in my head.
But it would be quite difficult to describe that if you hadn't actually experienced it, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
It would come across as very false if you hadn't actually been that.
And that's interesting because we've obviously been to these places and everything. Like you say, you can describe things in a way that's expressive.
And one of the other things was that location can be a character of your book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in Argentina and the tango community, that's you don't get that anywhere else in the world. You know, the village in Sivas with the attitudes of the people in it and the lifestyle of the people in it, you don't get that. I mean, you get that in lots of other villages in Greece and what have you, but it is a specific thing, and the books, each book has a very different feel depending on where it is in the world. You know, London, I lived in London when I was a youngster, and, you know, I was an adult, but my early 20s. And, you know, the feel of that is very different to the feel of Crete or Argentina. Or
which part of Brazil did you live in?
I lived in Islington, which sounds very nice, but it was just north of King's Cross, it wasn't.
No. Had great shops though, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
What do your family think of your writing career?
They're very positive. They're very excited. My sister particularly is very excited. She does my first kind of like beta read, where she reads through it and tells me if she doesn't think the characters are doing something like this.
Because you're a self-publisher, you don't have, presumably you don't have that support that if you went through a publisher you would get proofreaders and all the rest of it. Yeah. So how do you cope with all that?
So you can get freelance editors and proofreaders, and that's what most people do. I've done a proofreading and copy editing course.
Right.
Because at one point I thought it'd be quite nice to, in my retirement, it'd be nice to earn some money by reading books, you know, and that's been invaluable.
Right.
But so my sister does a first read through, and she's like me, she's a bookworm, she reads all sorts. Yeah. And she's quite good because she will pick up on, you know, Jet said this in that bit, and I don't really see that, and that seems a bit mean for Jet, or whatever. So that's quite useful.
That's what you need, isn't
it? Or, you know, you said she was drinking a cup of tea, but you just made a cup of coffee, you know, that sort of thing. She'll pick up
discrepancies.
Yeah, and then I've got one of my neighbours, Julie, upstairs to me. She's done some proofreading of more academic stuff, but, you know, she knows what she's about. So she does the final proofread. So I write it, I put it aside for a while, then I go back with a fairly fresh mind and I go through it and I make loads of changes, and then it goes to my sister and she has a little bit of a think about it and comes back with some feedback, and
that's quite interesting actually. If you say you put it aside for a while, because I don't know about you, Mary, but I'm exactly like that with my artwork.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I can have several paintings on the go, and then I just leave them, but I keep looking at it, you know, like at the corner of your eye, and after a few weeks you go back to it.
Yeah, I think
your subconscious moves around on it, doesn't it?
And also, I think sometimes you, with something like that, you get to a certain point of, say, art or writing, and I think you have to take that break, because you can then lose
You're too close to it, and you're seeing what you think you're seeing.
Exactly, and then you start, then you're over, and then you think it would just go the wrong way. So I think sometimes you need that breathing space to step away. It's like stepping away from a painting, and you step away from your words or your writing, and you need that space to then come back to it.
You know, because you're in the graphics as well. I mean, jobs, you can be so close to a job, and you can look at it, even proofreaders can read it and read it and read it. And it's only when the damn thing goes to print and there's 10,000 copies, somebody stops it as soon as they open the page. There's a typo, and it's like, why did we not see that? It's just your brain. Your brain is just
seeing it over and over and over again. It becomes a jumbled mess in a way.
Yeah.
So you need that clarity.
It knows what it's seeing.
It just sits there going like that. But it's
one of the bits of advice I have is to read it backwards.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Oh,
read it backwards, because then you're not into the flow of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
I couldn't do it for a whole book.
No, but
for bits.
You go, I'm not sure about that, so you read it backwards. That would make sense.
For proofreading, not for copies.
Yeah, because then you would see the words that you don't really... I was watching 1%, have you seen that show? Sorry. But there was a sentence, and everyone said it in the sentence, but there was an I in it. Yeah. But no one read the I in the sentence. Yeah. Which was quite interesting. So I'm kind of relating it back to writing. You can write something, and then you keep writing, reading it the right way.
Brain doesn't, when you're reading, your brain doesn't read every word.
No.
It reads, or it doesn't read every letter. You know,
no, because you can scan.
Puts it in.
I'm very good at scanning. You know.
Yeah. Which is fine if you're just trying, but not if you're proofreading.
Not if you're proofreading. So reading it backwards would mean you probably wouldn't miss your words.
Exactly.
That's what I'm presuming, so it is right. Yeah, look, Maryisms do work sometimes.
I just need to talk backwards.
I know, I just thought,
it's just bad enough going forwards.
Oh no, I'm slightly dyslexic. I blame that.
Anyway, we're going to have to bring this to a close. It's half. I can't
my
believe
goodness.
it's just gone by so quickly.
That's gone too quick, isn't it? Why does it go so quick?
It's just one of those things, isn't it? We're nattering away.
Exactly.
So this one's out at the moment.
This one's out now.
On Amazon.
Yes.
And how do we find it on Amazon? Do we just click on your name?
You can search on Lyssa Stanson, and that should bring them all up. They're in a series, so they're all linked together. So if you find one,
I've got to get up.
Quick reminder again.
Quick reminder.
Or you can go to the website, which is www.lyssastanson.com. And then they're all listed on there.
We'll put a link on there.
There's links through to get to the books.
We'll put a link on our.
You can, if you're a tango dancer. I don't know how many of your audience are tango dancers. You might want to just read Excellent in Argentina. It does work as a standalone, but they are in order. So if you want to read them in order, start with Captain.
But you can just read it as a standalone.
Then you want to read all of them, obviously.
Yes. If there's no real spoilers, but there's a slight spoiler.
Oh. Can't be having spoilers.
Well, on our webpage, on the Focus on Art webpage, we have got a links page, and I haven't done it at the moment, but I am going to start doing it. Every guest we have on, we'll have on, because obviously the programme changes every week.
Yeah.
But I will be putting up links to all our guests with their website or whichever details they want.
So then you can review all the old interviews and so forth, and then you can see the links as well.
And we've now got a YouTube channel as well.
We do,
Care of Mary.
I've just started putting up the interviews.
I'm not going to say anything else. She's very good. I take the mickey out of her all the time.
It's fine though, because I look at this face, you can't not. To be honest, I put myself in it.
Yes.
That's the thing. As I do. But I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's who I am, isn't it? You can't help it. Be who you are, lads. Be who you are.
So a big thank you to Lyssa for coming in.
Thank you. Great for sharing your book as well.
Yes, thank you very much.
My
pleasure.
My interview techniques.
And we've got our next interviews coming up on Sunday at 1:15. We've got a fantastic photographer who you will love. We're excited to have him.
Yes.
And then we'll be back again next week. We've got 3 interviews next week, haven't we?
3 interviews next week.
So do check the programme, and if you want to be involved, because we're taking bookings well beyond middle of May now, get in touch with us so you can book your slot.
Please get in touch, because we'd love to hear from you. And obviously, all genres of creativity. We keep having to alliterate that. Alliterate. Anyway, whatever.
Say it. Yeah.
Say as it is. Just get in touch. Musicians, poets.
We haven't got any musicians yet.
Yeah, we need musicians. What are you doing? film, you know, production. Books,
charades and everything.
Charades and everything. You can do all that.
On that note.
Anyway, I'll shut up.
We'll see you next week. I'll see you on Sunday.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.